We've made chili con carne on the channel before, and we've also done baked potatoes, but what if we combine the two to create a fantastic delicious meal with some grated mozzarella cheese that's then melted on top, sour cream and spring onions, or scallions for everyone else that wants to call it that. So let's get straight into it. Please sit back, relax and enjoy.
Alright, let's start with the prep, which consists of one peeled brown or yellow onion that's had its tip removed with the root still intact. Let's slice it in half through the root, then make thin slices across, stopping just before the root. Rotate it 90 degrees to make a horizontal incision that breaks up the formation and cells to produce more flavour, and slice across to create nice even sized diced pieces, doing this with both halves, and be sure to trim off any excess flesh from around the root, which can be saved for a stock along with the tip and peels. Next is 5 cloves of freshly peeled garlic that can be ran along a fine microplane or box grater to create a paste, which is otherwise known as minced. And if you didn't know, minced garlic is actually a lot stronger in flavour compared to sliced or chopped, as the compound, which is called allicin and gives garlic its strong flavour, is broken down a lot more. Also, be sure to scrape it all out to avoid any waste. Here is one large spring onion or scallion that can have its root end removed and saved for a stock, then slice it in half, separating the green stem from the white root end. Now usually I'd say save this part for another recipe, but not every recipe requires spring onions or scallions, so instead of wasting it, let's thinly slice it and use it with our brown or yellow onion in this recipe. With the green stem, this is going to be used as a garnish, so let's thinly slice it on a slight angle to create diamond or oval shaped pieces, and then once that's done, this can be placed into the fridge until we're ready to serve, and if you wanted to go the extra mile, you can place it into a bowl of icy water, which will allow it to crisp up even more. For an optional ingredient, here is one jalapeno that looks like a green light bulb. This can have its stem removed and placed into compost, if you have one of course, and with the chili itself, slice it in half lengthways, rotate it 90 degrees, and slice into even sized pieces. Like I said, this is optional and does add a nice subtle heat, but it can be substituted with long red chili, long green chili, and bird's eye chilies if you wanted to, and you can also use dried chili as well. Get yourself 5 grams or 0.2 ounces of flat leaf parsley, scrunch it into a tight bunch, then come through and give it a rough chop, which doesn't need to be perfect, just make sure that there's no large leaves or stems. Also, I've been getting a few comments lately saying I shouldn't be chopping herbs at all because the leaves will leave all of their flavour all over the board, but I have to say that means your knives are blunt and you're bruising your herbs. If your knife is sharp, slicing is the best way to go. Now last but not least, here is 4 large all-rounder potatoes that have been washed, and with these poke them all over with a fork, which will allow the heat to get in and under the skin and will result in soft fluffy centres and a nice crispy skin on the outside. Once that's done, place them into a mixing bowl and add in 1 tablespoon or 20 milliliters of olive oil, sea salt flakes to taste, and 10 cracks of black pepper. Let's then get our clean hands in there and massage our spuds, making sure that they're coated all over, and you should probably use a bigger bowl than me, I just like to make things difficult for myself. With that out the way, place the potatoes onto a baking tray lined with parchment paper, then make your way over to a preheated oven set at 170 degrees Celsius or 340 degrees Fahrenheit and bake for 45 minutes. Now to make the chili, place a large pot over medium-high heat, add in 1 tablespoon or 20 milliliters of olive oil, and once hot, add in the sliced brown or yellow onion along with the sliced spring onion or scallion and saute for 3 minutes, mixing it around regularly. Next, add in the minced garlic as well as the sliced jalapeno if you're using it of course, and continue sauteing for 45 seconds, moving it around the whole time, which will prevent the garlic from burning and becoming bitter. Let's then add in 1 kilo or 2.2 pounds of beef mince or ground beef, and whilst breaking it up with a silicone spatula or wooden spoon, fry this for 7 minutes or until it's browned all over and only a very small amount of its water retention remains. This is also 10% fat beef mince, so it's very lean, but if you have a fattier beef, it is recommended to drain a little bit of it, otherwise you'll end up with a layer of fat at the top once this is finished. Once browned all over, add in 2 tablespoons or 35 grams of concentrated tomato paste, 10 grams or 0.35 ounces of ground cumin for a nice earthy warmth, 1 tablespoon or 2 grams of dried oregano for an aromatic warmth, 2 teaspoons or 5 grams of smoked paprika for a great colour and of course smokiness, half a teaspoon or 1 gram of cayenne pepper for a little kick, sea salt flakes to taste, and of course 10 cracks of black pepper. With that all in, give this all a good mix, ensuring that the tomato paste and spices are fully incorporated, and cook this for 2 minutes, which will allow the tomato paste to start releasing its oils. Pour in half a cup or 125 milliliters of beef stock to help deglaze and add depth, also pouring in 800 grams or 1.7 pounds or 2 cans of diced tomatoes to create our sauce, and thoroughly mix this through, allowing those flavors to become friends, and bring this to a boil. Once boiling, reduce the heat to low, cover with a lid or foil if you don't have a lid, and simmer for 40 minutes. Now with the potatoes, these have been baking for the past 45 minutes. Let's flip them over using tongs, which will ensure that the skins are nicely cooked all over, and then place them back in for another 30 minutes to get the centers nice and fluffy. After 40 minutes on the chili, carefully remove the lid, giving it another good mix through to keep those flavors working and developing. Then add in 400 grams or 14.1 ounces or 1 can of washed kidney beans, along with the chopped flat leaf parsley for a herbal freshness, and mix this all together, ensuring everything is evenly distributed. It is also a good time to taste test and adjust seasoning levels accordingly, remembering that you can always add but you can't take out. Then give this all a good mix through, place back on the lid and simmer for another 20 minutes. Going back to the potatoes, these can now be removed and let cool for 10 minutes, also turning the oven to the grill or broil setting. Again, going back to the chili that's been simmering for an hour in total, this can then be given a final good mix through before taking it off the heat and removing it from the stovetop. Now with the potatoes slightly cooler, let's make a cross cut on top of each one and then push down on the sides to open it up, leaving us with something that looks like this. These can now be filled with the delicious chili, adding on as much or as little as you'd like. Then over the top, add on some freshly grated mozzarella cheese, again with the amount being up to you. Then take these back over to the oven that's on the grill or broil setting, increase the heat to 180 degrees Celsius or 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and cook for 6 minutes or until the cheese is melted and it's beautifully golden brown. Then remove and switch off the oven. Now these incredible potatoes are definitely a meal on their own, so you can serve them with any of your favourite sides, but make sure to top these with a good helping of sour cream right on top, and don't forget to garnish with the sliced green stem spring onion or scallion. Once that's all done, what we've then created is these absolutely delicious and beautiful chili con carne stuffed baked potatoes that are oozing with melted cheese and sour cream. Of course, the only thing that's then left to do is make all of this worthwhile, and that is we can then dig in.